Now, so as we are talking about sensory perception, I mean where the things receive, where we receive the things. So we talked about internal metabolism, where one particular process that might be, let's say, about growth of cellular division is happening. So that initiates or triggers a particular signal cascade inside our body, and that happens. Okay, but the thing is, behavior as we see is mostly concerned about animal behavior, or the evolutionary aspect of ecological aspects of behavior are concerned about uh, receiving and understanding signal that happen outside the body. So the receptions of physiological processes that is happening inside the body is concerned with physiological and medical activities. But when we talk about understanding how different sensors react to the signals that come out of the body, then we are understanding actually a part of behavior. A part of behavior. Okay. Behavior also comprises the other part where we talk about the internal mechanisms. Okay. So understanding the major part of the biology of behavior, where we talk about sensory perception. Now, sensory perception is a virtue of sensory receptors, right? So we have receptors all our body which receive signal. Okay, so the sensory receptors are cells or structure that detect sensations, right? So we have usually neuronal ends or neuronal processes like nerves, nerve endings, which actually receive the signals and translate into our body and brain. Okay, then comes sensory modalities. Now, sensory modalities are actually how we perceive information. So the thing is, we might see an object glowing. Okay, so it is light that we perceive, but how we perceive that thing is actually sensory modality. So, let's say if you are sitting in a restaurant, and in a restaurant there are hundreds of people who are talking, but if someone calls a name that might be similar to you or that may be your name, you respond to it. So even though there are hundred of sounds that are hundred of people that are going on, but you can hear your own sound as well. So this is also called as cocktail party problem. Now this interesting fact is studied by different people in India as well. So you can find people who are studying in IIM Mohali and Ashoka University and Tirupati and all. Okay, so they understand how these kind of frequency changes, how we perceive a system, or how we perceive acoustic signals, how we identify so many loud noises, and among that also we can still hear our names. Okay, so the thing also happens is animal kingdoms, where in a forest, in a rainforest, there are lots of sounds that are happening, but still an organism can listen and perceive his or her own species sound, because they can filter out the other things. Okay, so the thing is, even if we are feeling wind and flowing through our hand, so we can see if the pressure is light or the pressure is high. So that is that. So sensory modality talks about how we perceive a signal, right? So it might be light, it might be heavy. So a cut for a person may be painful, but the pain might differ with people, person to person. So for me, it might be different. For him, it might be different. For her, it might be different, because the sensory modality in our system is how we perceive signals. Okay, so that's that. Now, thresholds talks about how a sensory signal initiates a particular process. So there should be a threshold, right? So pain receptors initiate the signal of pain at particular point. Okay, so if you poke it with a pencil nib, it won't be that hurtful. But if you poke with a needle's nib, that would be hurtful. That would be painful, right? So there is a threshold of how a signal is perceived. A light can be perceived by our eyes. If we can see it is glowing, then it should have a certain sort of luminance. The level below the luminance will not be considered as a glowing object. So there are thresholds. So absolute threshold talks about each sense organ's requirement of minimal amount of stimulation. So we can see in our eyes even the lights are off, but that is not enough to to walk around and to find things. So there is differential threshold. Okay, so differential threshold talks about the real time noticeable differences. So these are like threshold differences where we can actually find noticeable changes. Okay, so absolute threshold talks about the minimum amount of threshold that is required to perceive a signal, where differential threshold talks about a comparative threshold aperture, where there is minimum but there is one is perceivable. I mean, when you can see a noticeable change that has happened. Okay, so like example, at night you can switch off the lights. After sometimes you can actually see the path, or if the light is, if the floor is white or somewhat, so you can actually see the path. But the thing is, you might still not see small organisms or small things that have fallen on the floor. But if there is a 0 watt bulb, okay, a minimal amount of light that is falling, or three small LED, even that light can create a certain environment where you can instantly see those objects. So there is a noticeable change in the observation of that perceived signal. So that is differential threshold. Okay, hope you understood. Then moving on to multimodal perception. Multimodal perception talks about multiple signals coming at once and giving out a structured signal sensation. Like whenever you are seeing this video, you will be watching it, looking through his eyes, hearing from your ears, and all of this combined together to form a certain signal. Okay, so there is multimodal perception where different senses work together to form a unified experience. Now information from one sense have potential to influence others as well. Like sometimes whenever you hear a things, you can actually also imagine, processed as a visual signal. So there are multiple signals which function on one together. Okay, sometimes you can feel a vibration which you can hear but also can feel through your skin, right? So there are multiple senses that function together, or one signal can initiate a multiple senses as well. So this is multimodal perception, one where receiving multiple signals and perceiving it is one, and there might be other aspect where you are perceiving one signal but it can be perceived by different senses. So this is multimodal perception. Coming back to private perceptive experiences, as I was talking about experiences of pain, a single perception of a stimulus can be different from one people to other. So the way you see a color might be different from the way I see. Females and males have different color associating thinking or thoughts, where a female sees a different colors as well to male. So for females, it might be bubble pink, rose pink, red pink, blue pink, whatever. But a male always perceives as a different shade of simple color pink. So yeah, there is different modalities and perception and experiences that creates a differential statuses of understanding a perceptive signal. Then as I was talking about signals and how sense perceive it, so there are different perception that we talked about, sensory perception that happens through senses. Then there is sensory modality of understanding different in interpreting it in our mind, which actually processes in our brain. So whenever we hear a sound, let's say in a group where 100 people are talking, and you can still listen to your sound, that means the frequency that it receives is like lot of it. But the thing is, the brain filter out all other things and perceives and listens to only your name or the identifying relatable or relative signals. So after that it's processed, it creates a communicative process and signal which transfers through the neuronal axis from brain, then CNS, then PNS and ANS and so on. Apart from that, cerebrospinal fluid goes onto spinal cord and reach out to other part of the body. It might be hormonal. It creates a hormonal cascade where it eventually talks about physiological changes and gives out a certain response to it, right? So the responses can be either stored in memory. Sometimes you just perceive something and store it in a memory. You don't actually receive any physiological changes directly, but sometimes it results in output through a physiological change. Also, a physiological change might also perceived as a memory. Okay, so all of these are working together. So memory is a collective, storage of all the signals that we have perceived throughout a lifetime. Then understanding the physiological aspect of it. Physiological aspect in the sense all of these signals are transferred and processes. So all of these signals are transferred and processed by brains, perceived by neurons, and collectively influenced and interpreted by brain. Okay, so brain is a collective mass of neurons and neuronal processes surrounded by fluids, and the brain size differs with respect to organisms. So it might be a collective mass, like in case of humans. It might be spread out through the body like earthworm. It might be concentrated as few bodies in the front of the head and can flow out in small bodies throughout their abdominal region and part. It can be small, like in case of bird brain, and can have a certain signaling cord and grows on. Now the thing is, the brain or the mass of the brain is always related to the weight of the entire body. So the brain to the body ratio or body weight ratio talks about different individuals and how they are intelligent accordingly. So if you have a larger brain, that means you have a more number of neurons. That means you have a greater control over your entire metabolic system. So yeah, so this is the brain weight ratio to body weight ratio. Okay, so you can see that shrew have a larger amount of brain. So the shrew has a comparatively larger brain weight body ratio. I mean, they have a large brain as compared to their body size. So humans are also considered accordingly. Now humans and dolphins and chimpanzees have around similar kind of brain body ratios. So you can understand and see that different organisms might have smaller or bigger brain, but the brain should be according to their body size. And that's how intelligence or their neuronal processes, their cognitive abilities are assessed as well. Now there is other aspect of understanding brain to body ratio, but this is a different idea because there might be some questions. There was one relative question talking about brain to body weight ratio. Okay, so I mentioned. Apart from that, there are multiple neurons, types of neurons which are found in human body and also mammalian systems, where there are an axonic neuron, there are absence of axon. There is bipolar neuron, talk about two axons, whereas in unipolar neurons they have a single elongated process with cell body located off to the side. Okay, and then there is multipolar neurons, where neurons have two or multiple axonic processes and multiple dendrites sometimes as well. Then we need to understand how a impulse initiates and is transmitted through the neuronal system. So when a signal is perceived through the senses, it transferred through neurons to the brain. So it gets transferred from neuron to the brain, then brain processes it and again responds with respect to the neuronal intentions. Now we have to understand that these different processes initiates by excitation. So the neuronal ends actually get excited, usually dendritic ends get excited and initiate a electronic transmission impulse. Okay, so the impulse travels through a race of action potential. So the action potential functions around depolarization of the neuron, repolarization and resting potential. Okay, so there's different aspects of it, and we'll understand that in detail as well. But these are aspects of the neuronal impulse, where there is charge and discharge of sodium potassium ion pumps that inflow and outflow of neuronal ions, that is sodium potassium calcium, happens. So calcium also being an important ionic system, where they actually initiate the membrane diffusion and release of neurotransmitters. So the neurotransmitter actually function by initiating synaptic and postsynaptic interactions. So the electronic impulse travels through the neuron via the axon, and at the axon terminal they release out neurotransmitters, which is received by the synapse of the next neuron, and the next neuron again initiates the signal accordingly. So yeah, these kind of interactions actually regulates the entire electrical signaling system. Okay, so we'll study that with the aspect of this. Now this is a video animation where to understand how a charge potential, action potential happens. Now there is intake and outtake of sodium potassium ion. Three sodium ions are actually taken out and two potassium ions are intaken, where you can see how internal system function now. So there is positive charge more in case of the neuronal external fluid and negative charge inside the body. You have idea about neuronal impulse works, but this is how it transfers throughout the entire body system. Now the thing is, to initiate the neuronal impulse, it requires a certain threshold amount of the voltage, and once the threshold is reached, it will go on to initiating the action potential. So if the stimulus is actually not able to initiate or get into the threshold, then that will fail like this. So few initiation which actually reaches up to the threshold of the potential of the voltage, then it actually results in action potential. It will actually go on to the action potential, and then the next process will happen of polarization, depolarization, repolarization, hyperpolarization. And then this difference of transfer of ions and electronic charge actually varies with respect to the axonal system, where if it is covered with myelin sheet, then the axon speed or the impulse speed in the axon is way more than that of the axons which are not covered with myelin sheets. So these myelin sheet actually happens to have a greater speed of impulse, and they help in quicker responses. So the neurons which are covered with myelin sheet have a quicker response with respect to the neurons that do not have covered with myelin sheets. Okay. Now that is the basic idea of neuronal impulse transmission. You have already understood and known about it. If you don't know, I'll send you a link down to understand the entire processes. Okay. So once we studied how the impulse is transmitted through the neuron, then we know that at the end of the neuron there is synaptic interaction. One outlet of one neuron is connected to dendrite of the other neuron, and they have synaptic interactions where a synaptic cleft is formed. Now one synapse or the end axonal end reaches out to the other end of dendrite and releases neurotransmitters in between. So neurotransmitters are chemical messengers which might travel directly to the nerve cell or also sometimes travels to the target cell. They are usually formed by amino acids, sometimes fatty acids and cholesterol, sometimes also a few gases like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and some few other gases also initiates a neurotransmitting process. So there are multiple neurotransmitters. Few of the most important neurotransmitters in our human body and in also mammalian systems are these eight. So they have certain functions, the structure you can see, and the functions that are listed down. So here till now we understood how different kind of neuronal processes happens in our body. So there are different systems, different kind of neuronal processes. They initiate, they structurize, they form a certain signal, and they are perceived in different ways. So we perceive signals that might be internal, that is from cellular processes. One cellular process can initiate a communicative or behavioral change inside our body, which respond to outside changes, as well as physiological changes, growth, movement of fluids. Apart from that, environmental processes also initiates a particular behavioral response. And these all responses are triggered by changes in hormonal levels, are transmitted over hormones, and then processed by brains. And the brain also processes and transcends the entire idea of hormonal process and again regulates the behavioral mechanism that might be directly to the muscle, or it can again trigger down a hormonal system which can again change the cascadal state. Okay.